All right, hi Isabelle. Great job, really, really well done. So I'm gonna start off with the question that I've been asking all the contestants beforehand, and the question is could you have done the number without the prompt? So there's that. Isabelle, I want to start off with this statement: you are a genius. You are, but be careful about becoming one-dimensional within your core. I'm starting to see you become a little bit too niche within this like abstract sort of genre, and I'd love to see you sort of like pull out into like I've been watching you from the very beginning, and it's very like your style is starting to like I'm starting to just get like one flavor like the entire time, and I really want to see like a little bit more diverse palette with you at your style. You're so good. Your challenge too is something that's going to live with me forever. Like it's genius. But I don't want you to sort of like pigeonhole yourself into one particular genre. So there's that. Buckets. I love buckets. I loved that you that it affected the way that you skated. It affected the way that you stand on the blade. It affected the way that they moved. That was a very important part to me. And one of the things that I think from you is that you will never lack on the creativity score. Like of the three scores, you will never lack on that final score. That creative score will always be high for you because of your innovativeness, innovativeness. We're gonna go with that. Um, uh, like it's interesting. It's because what happens for you is you oftentimes start out really strong with the music. Like you go musical, but then after that you sort of fade out of the music. So you start musical and then you start ignoring it, and the music sort of fades into the background, which I don't mind music sort of being a backdrop, kind of like how you did in Challenge 2, where the music was more of a backdrop to the whole thing. But if you're going to sort of start with the music, I kind of want it to have a little bit more continuity to that. When you switched from buckets to the cloth or to that little mop head, I would have liked a cleaner transition, like because it looked like because your skater was sort of pulling it out of her hoodie, and it kind of looked a little bit like, oh, I got something right here. Oh yeah, I'll pull it out. Like that sort of a thing, rather than like sort of like a reveal. Like you could have had it in the buckets, or you could have had it in there, and then they pull it out or something like that. Whereas it's kind of like, oh, look what I got in my pocket. Like that sort of a thing. So, the I would love a little bit more of formation changings. It was oftentimes very symmetrical and just often like orbited and did something like that. I would have loved a little bit more, like something a little bit more like say like a vertical sort of a thing, or a weave or something like that. It just sort of like came in like a little bit this and then this, like that sort of thing. So I would have liked a little bit more of a formation change. The wig thing was pretty cool. Let's see. But yeah, you sort of dabbled in like a little tutting thing. That was pretty cool. The moves in the field part where you guys did like the spiral and the leg lift and all that stuff, for me it was a bit superfluous, because all you were doing with the rag was sort of holding it up in the air, and it didn't really affect the whole thing. So like having the spiral and having the moves in the field part, like with that, like I'm gonna use the phrase because I love you, but it was sort of a cop out where you kind of did like that spiral, and you didn't really need that part. Like you could have done something a bit more, and I get it, time crunch and all that stuff, but yeah. So let's see. And then the end sort of faded out. The music didn't really help you at the end, because it kept repeating the same phrase. So it was kind of like watching, like imagine like you have a can of soup and like you're on a hill and you drop the can of soup and it kind of just like sort of rolls down. Like that's kind of what the music did to me, is just like kind of like watching a can of soup just like roll down the hill. Like, you know, I would have loved the music to sort of like help out your piece at the very, very end, where it just sort of kind of trailed. And so like for me, the choreography kind of trailed at the very, very end. And then fade outs. I'm not a huge fade out person. I kind of like a number to have like a stop, like it doesn't have to be like a hard stop, but it just has to have like a like, or something that sort of like gives your piece a period. You know, your piece can end in ellipses, like the way you did for challenge 2. I'm holding you to a higher standard because I know what you can do. So like the way you ended challenge 2, where it went up into the Raptors, that's how you end a fade out. That's brilliant. That's genius. The way that it ended right here just kind of died, and it kind of like it didn't give me the closure that I wanted from a piece. All right, going to the question: could you have done the number without the prop? At times, you could have done the number without the prop at times. That's the thing. For the most part, you needed the prop, which was great, but at times you could have done it without it, and that's where I take a little bit of, you know. So overall, with your scores, you got for composition you got a 3, for execution you got a 2, and for creativity you got a 4. All right, thank you so much, Isabelle. Keep on creating.